I am Doomsvince, and this is day 125 of Spawn Year.
Today I find I'm experiencing a feeling I haven't known since before day one of Spawn Year. Relaxation. And I know that's how Doomsvince wants me to feel. He probably hopes I'll become so comfortable in this wonderful place I'll be completely unprepared for whatever he has planned for me next. As always, I'm trying to keep my wits about me. I can't trust that this will last. Maybe I'll be here another week, maybe another hour. And sure, there's the unsettling white haze and the surreal feeling of being inside a single room from my own home, surrounded by blackness. But even in the face of all that, I feel like I can breathe again. It's partly because everything here reminds me that there is excellent, fun, well-crafted fiction in the world, that the convoluted, endlessly circular story of Spawn is not all that there is. And though I must still honor my agreement with Doomsvince, though I must still live in that universe every day, I now have myriad other universes I can escape to. Had I been given all these other delightful Spawn-free distractions the rest of Spawn Year, while still difficult without my family and my real home, it may have been more bearable. I must remember that the longer Doomsvince allows me to write here, the more difficult it will ultimately be when I have to leave. Another reason for my long sigh of relief is that my subject for review today was digestible, and at least so far, a lot more competent and engaging than its comic book counterpart. And lastly, Doomsvince has recreated this room 100% accurately. There was a blue pen precisely where I thought I had left one here. So at least until this pen runs out of ink, I won't be needing my knife or quill. Finally, for the first time, I had the opportunity to see and hear the creator of the very thing that has brought me such intense frustration and madness this year. Todd McFarlane himself, who opens the show in a Crypt Keeper-esque introduction. We see Todd in a classy but almost cartoonish black suit with a blue tie, drawing comic panels in a warehouse set, and he sets the stage and mood by asking the impossible question. If, like Al Simmons, you were given the chance to return to your life after you died by the devil with no time to think about it, what would you say? He immediately puts his audience in the protagonist's shoes and, calling Al's choice a rookie mistake, paints Spawn as a fallible human being like the rest of us who we're about to embark on a journey with to see how he wrestles with and pays for mistakes he made both in and after life. Todd's melodramatic enthusiasm is infectious, and while his work has brought me to the conclusion he can't craft a convincing narrative to save his own soul, his love for his creation and its core ideas is instantly believable in his delivery. And he reminded me of how intrigued with and taken in I was by that first issue. I love the initial premise and tone, and with Todd's opening and then this first animated episode, I enjoyed being reintroduced to all of this as if it was for the first time. I smiled when Todd says, "And now, Spawn, so turn off your lights," and did exactly that. The purpose of the show instantly became clear. It's meant to be a dark escape, a chilling fantasy to put the viewer in a somber and melancholy mood. At least in the conceit, Al himself seems just real enough that we can relate to his nightmare, but the whole situation and mythology is unreal enough that it can be enjoyed as a macabre diversion. We can forget about our own real problems while we lose ourselves in Al's, which feels much more dire and hopeless than anything we will likely experience. The show's greatest strength out the gate is its consistent somber tone. The moody ambiance instantly gives it a style similar to other properties in similar veins. It reminded me a little of Hellsing, but sets it apart from the comics and the film. The focus seems to be on making the audience feel like Al Simmons. Ironically, even with the pages and pages of narration I've had to read in all of those Spawn comics, this is the first time I've actually felt kind of in his head. The color palette is mostly blacks, grays, and reds, with a lot obscured in shadow except only what is absolutely necessary to follow the story, and it seems heavily influenced by noir and hard-boiled crime and detective comics, much more than the flashy, bold, brightly colored superhero splash pages of the McFarlane-drawn issues. Which is better for the material, I think, depends on how the story is told. We have a little-spoken Spawn here who's mysterious, lurks in the shadows, and is totally solitary, though not by choice. And I think the more minimalistic animation suits this material, as long as it continues to accentuate the natural moodiness and brooding of Spawn. Though it is a little strange that we see Todd McFarlane drawing at the beginning of this, and what we see on the screen is nothing like his art. I like this a lot more than breathtaking, detailed full-page spreads with 12 narration boxes where Al whines about how much his afterlife sucks. That doesn't mean I'd be fine with this Spawn sitting and waiting around for something to happen any more than I did in the comics. Atmosphere can't be the only reason to tune in, just for the same reason that art can't be the only reason to pick up a comic book, but it's certainly a selling point. And Shirley Walker's sad and haunting music, like her music in Batman, is a lot of the success of this as well. The story is mostly Al discovering what he is and that he can't go home again. It's a total nightmare, and his inarticulate grunts of pain, his confusion, and the couple moments he breaks down in anguish are completely understandable. The situation is the same from the comics, except Al and we learn a lot more than we do in even the first several issues here. This time Clown actually serves as his guide from the beginning and doesn't just go around killing mob bosses for no good reason, which makes exposition about the deal with Malebolgia, the 5 years he's been gone, and the fact that Terry gave Wanda a child Al couldn't, more natural and easily understood. Al gets some flashes of the past, like in the comics, but since they're jumbled, it makes sense that Clown would tell him all this and fill in the gaps. I like that what Al sees in the present triggers these flashes instead of their coming out of nowhere. In his first fight, while he has no clue who he is, a man goes up in flames, and that triggers the memory of Al's death. Spawn kills a lot in this episode, always bad people, but also with instinctual and unnecessary brutality. First, thugs of Tony Twist, sent to kill a nosy reporter, and then some dirty cops. It's much clearer than in the book that Al has good intentions and abhors injustice, but that his first reaction is extreme violence. Clown applauds Spawn for killing. He doesn't care why Spawn does it, just so long as he does it. While it's a typical pilot in that it's all set up, a lot of ground is covered and a lot of characters are introduced. Perhaps too many if you're unfamiliar with the material already. Twist calls Wynn at the end, thinking his boys were killed by a government hitman. It's fun that he's sort of right, but Wynn doesn't know it, though I don't know how slaughter caused by chains points to covert op. Sam and Twitch investigate the deaths and have their usual banter. Cog narrates and briefly meets Spawn long enough to establish his mysterious know-it-all mentor role, and Billy Kincaid is even referenced by Wynn at the end, though not by name. He and a senator are conspiring to cover a child killer's crimes. Alan McElroy finds logical ways for characters to show up and cross paths. Spawn himself is instantly smarter and more proactive than I've seen him. He digs up his corpse looking for answers almost right away. That took 19 issues in the comics. And though I'm not sure if it's in his head or Bulgy messing with him, his corpse choking him and telling him what a horrible mess he's made for himself is really creepy and a compelling image. Spawn should be asking more questions of Cog and Clown and wondering who they are and why they know so much. He's disoriented and confused, sure, but he does that stupid Al thing of irritably telling everyone to leave him alone along with a threat whenever they're offering information he obviously needs. The show is certainly more violent and vulgar than necessary, as though trying to prove how edgy and adult it is. Nothing is gained by the nudity and F-bombs the comics never seem to need, but it probably attracts that late-night HBO audience is looking for. I did have a little more to say, but I'm all out of notebook. Oh well, guess it's time for some Donkey Kong Country. Signed, Captain Logan.